Welcome back, and thank you for watching Namibia Media Holdings live broadcast Elections 2019. Toivo, before we look at a couple of new results, and we've spoken about the abacus versus electronic vote counting already. Inside the office, I just walked past the TV screen, and NBC Live is on, and they had a presenter standing in front of a TV screen showing NBC Facebook on the traditional TV, and here we are sitting in a studio with a lot of virtual elements, and we are on Facebook and speaking about election results that you can watch on your tablet or telephone. So technology is changing very quickly.
Technology is changing very quickly and creating a lot of convenience. People can really follow from wherever they are as long as there's good network coverage. And that is how things should be in this age.
Please tell us here on Facebook in your comments what you like about the new technology, or maybe dislike about it. Toivo, yes, we've received some new constituency results for presidential elections, and what does the picture look like at the moment?
Okay, so again, just to remind our viewers that the website is elections.my.NA. My is my.na. So far, this is what is it looks like. Just loading, but you can see as far as the presidential election is concerned, President with of course with 8 constituencies in out of the 121 constituencies countrywide, 8 are in, and this is the picture so far. President Hage Geingob leading by 45% compared to his closest rival, Dr. Itula, at 30%. And of course, we have Mark Henry Venani there in the 3rd position with 8%. What it tells us now, Danny, here is that if this was the final result, it would mean that you will have a rerun because nobody is having 50 plus 1%. So far that is just a result of 8 constituencies.
Yes, we have to repeat a lot of results still to come in, but just to tell you as well, those constituencies that are new in is Swakopmund, Rehoboth West, Onahena, and for the National Assembly elections, you can also on the site look at the results for Rehoboth West. I'll chat a bit of history soon about what you have told us. We've got on the line live via Skype from Rundu, Kenya Kambawe. Kenya, good morning, and what are things looking like in Rundu?
Good morning, Danny and Toivo. Basically, I'm currently at Rundu, the Tabako East Regional Council, which is the coalition center for the Rundu Urban Constituency results. Yeah.
Okay, so how does it look like overall? We know that the results from both the special vote that was held 2 weeks ago and also those that are coming in today, that they seem to be leaning towards President Hage Geingob. Is that your observation?
Yeah. This morning, as from 7 o'clock up to 8, I visited 80% of the polling stations, and I must say that President Hage Geingob has won by a landslide most of his polling stations. Because more than 60% of all these votes were casted for him, as well as Swapok has a big majority.
And how is parties like APP, which has a lot of support from that side, doing, and the opposition in general?
Basically, most of the votes for National Assembly went to Swapo, and obviously in terms of the opposition parties, you cannot really distinguish because PDM also came back strong, and APP, basically I cannot say who has the most in terms of the two parties.
Thank you very much, Kenya. That was Kenya Kambawe reporting from Rundu there.
Danny,
Yes, it seems.
I just wanted to add some incidents that happened yesterday.
Yes, you can speak.
Basically, last night around 12 a.m. while I'm at the Unam polling station, power went off. But during that time, we also observed that suspicion of double voting, whereby 657 votes were counted, while only 656 votes were casted, or people were registered. So there was some kind of suspicion of double voting.
Thank you very much, Kenya. We're back in the studio here in Windhoek. And yes, Toivu, the SWAPO strongholds, they are going to play a big role in these election results. And the two Kavango regions are some of those parts of the country. And we might see that swinging totals as the day moves along.
Yeah, I think the Kavango East and West regions are going to be critical. Their population is, their combined population is about 130,000 registered voters. But if you look at the northern regions, the 4O regions, they have a combined registered voter population of about 515,000 voters. So whoever wins some of these regions will really take home a good number.
Listen, we've got Jomari Daddy also back in the studio. Jomari, what are you going to share with us?
You remember that yesterday we received various reports of power outages at some of the polling stations. Now, some of them had backup generators, others didn't. Luckily, this polling station had one, and this is a video sent by Esther Kamati. It was taken after 8 last night, and it was of a power outage at the CCN polling station in Katatura. Namibians aren't afraid of the dark. This video clip that we've received showed voters queuing at Finkenstein at around 7:30 last night.
Sorry, Tony.
We received various reports last night of very long queues at polling stations. Of course, some of them due to the delays of these polling stations opening, others due to mobile polling stations. Now, Jana Marie Smith sent us this video clip from a polling station in Otjiwarongo, and she said that they had their last voters leaving between midnight and 2 o'clock this morning. From Swakopmund, we received this video from Otis Fink. Now, it is about party officials inspecting the control units for the National Assembly, and it is at the multi-purpose center at the Coalition Center in the town.
Black and white is that one.
That's my story for now, gentlemen.
Jomari, you are now, your focus topics as a journalist are economics and business. And you told us now that some people waited to vote until 2 o'clock in the morning, and for all we know, it might have been much later. Are we expecting to see some absenteeism at work maybe today because of these delays? Because people were also complaining about why are we having an election public holiday in the middle of the week, and someone suggested why can't we vote on weekends because it impacts the economy much less.
Donnie, that definitely is a valid concern. People are exhausted, not only because of the insane queues and the time they had to spend in those queues, but also because of the heat. So they are physically absolutely exhausted. And yes, I suppose that might result in some absenteeism today. I'm not quite sure, though, whether your employer will fall for that excuse.
Just while Joe is on stage on the floor, there was actually a similar incident yesterday in Ohangwena where
Indeed.
security guards just knocked off in the morning, went to a polling station, and it was the queue was so long, and they were saying that if they stayed in that queue, they would have missed work in the evening because you were up the whole night, up the whole day in the queue, and then you are expected to be up again the whole night. So those are some of the consequences that we might have experienced.
It certainly is something to consider. I mean, even if you do go to work today after having stood hours in a queue or in the sun yesterday, it might also impact slightly on service delivery. So for sure it has an impact on the economy. The counter argument, I think, is that if one, say for instance, you vote on a Friday, there might be the temptation to make a long weekend out of it, and you might have very good intentions heading down to the coast and voting at Swakopmund, and then once you get there, the beach is just a little bit more tempting.
Thank you very much, Joe Marie. Yes, many aspects to the election, and we are on Facebook Live, so we also want to hear from you what your experience were yesterday and what you are experiencing today. So please feel free to comment and also use the hashtags at the top of the page. We'll be back shortly. Stay tuned. welcome back. It's shortly before 10, the day after Namibia has voted, and we are going to look at some latest tallies on the results. But just before we are there, but let's talk about it, Toivu.
Yes.
Let's show us what is the running total. I think we've got about 8 confirmed constituencies in the presidential election results.
Okay, so what just came in now is Keetmans Rural and Rehoboth West Urban constituencies, making them 8 so far in total. And we'll just give you it's better to give it
If
the chronology.
If you double click there on the top right, it will arrange the votes by putting the leader and then second and third, etc.
Definitely. So that is what we see. After 8 constituencies, President Geingob at 45% of the vote so far, followed by Dr. Itula at 28%. Swartboy third, almost neck on neck with Venani. So it goes. So those are results of 8 constituencies so far. We have 121 constituencies in total, so there are more than 100 constituencies still to come.
As we've been saying the whole time, still a long way to go. Remember elections.my.na, that is where you can view the results and also a lot of other information. Our election maps for 2019 should be updated within a while as well. However, I previously mentioned history, and I studied history at school until grade 12 and also at the university in the first 3 years, so I love history. And we see there Itula now, as it stands on the percentage, there is 28.
Yes.
If you round it off, 29. And if you didn't know this bit of history, it was the biggest percentage for an opposing presidential candidate in the elections, and that was 23.7%.
I see.
And that is from 1994. Actually, the first election we had after gaining independence. And the interesting fact is also that year we only had 2 presidential candidates running, and that is former President Sam Nujoma, and by that time still Meshack Muyongo stood as the candidate for the DTA, and we're not going to delve into his controversial political undertakings after that. We're going to show you some clips. These were taken in Windhoek by Michelle Leroux, and it's from the MTC polling station as well as the polling station at Nipam.
Okay, I'm Sylvia Shikongo. I'm at the polling station at Nipan. I'm actually queuing for almost an hour. Although I'm a retired employee from the Bank of Namibia, I just wanted to sit and be part of the process to understand how it feels when you are queuing. So I don't want to be just, taken at the front and just cast my vote, but I wanted to be part of the system. For me to be able to talk, when people are talking, then tomorrow I can say I was part of it. I queued like any other person. It was not because of pensioner or retired that I was taken to vote first, but I just wanted to be part of the change.
Okay, guys.
Dag man, mensen. Mijn naam is Greg en dan is hier zo bij Nipam. Ik zei, jullie moeten uitkomen, 9 uur is de cut-off. Jong mensen, kom uit en laat ons stemmen. Dat is ons burgersplicht om dit te doen. Dank je.
Yes, you're back with us interesting images again there, Toivo. Speaking about the youth, we've got 2 of our young journalists in studio, Tunohole Mungoba and Octavia Tsibes. Guys, welcome
Thank you very much.
in studio. Now, you were very busy yesterday as well. You visited various places and polling stations. Tell us and obviously the viewers about your experience.
Thank you very much, Danny. Good morning, Danny and Toivo as well as to our viewers. Before I begin with sharing my experience, I'd just like to add that it was my first elections covering it, not only as a journalist, but also participating as a registered voter. So what we've noticed, my team and I, we were stationed in constituencies in Khomasdal, Ochumise, in Katutura, and our experience was quite interesting because we had to travel amongst the different polling stations, and we had to conduct interviews and share experiences amongst the different registered voters. So the experience went quite well, although there were different hiccups as reported in our different daily newspapers. But besides that, the process went quite smooth.
Good morning, Toivo and Danny. Good morning, viewers. I was stationed with senior journalists at the ECN headquarters. Of course, it was quiet and there was more administrative work that was done there. So we decided to go around to the polling stations that were close by, and we were at Nast, which was under the Windhoek West constituency. It was interesting to see a lot of young people queue up, and not only did they queue up early in the morning, but they had space given for their friends. They told their friends to come in numbers. What was interesting to see also as a young person on social media was 2 to 5 months ago, you could see that young people were not interested in voting. But again, at the polling stations, they came out in numbers and they were posting their thumbs to say, guys, I voted. When are you guys coming up? It's not too late. You could see on social media that people are saying, if you have a car, please take these people with. The youth are standing at this polling station. Please take the youth with to vote. So it was quite interesting to see young people come in numbers and stand in the queues with their camping chairs wanting to vote.
Octavia, you spent quite some time at the Electoral Commission of Namibia's HQ. So I want to just flash back to that and your personal experience there also, but also as a journalist, because you know we're sitting here in a studio, we don't experiencing it directly, but if my impression is wrong, please correct me. Like you say, there was a lot of admin going on and meetings behind closed doors. So was it difficult, for example, if you get a report here from studio or from the regions saying that there's a problem with power or the EVMs or the VVDs or whatever, to get any kind of feedback from those officials?
Danny, I would get questions and complaints from the social media manager here in the studio. They will send us questions that the viewers want to find out about EVM machines that's not working or situations where there is power off. So as a young journalist with more senior journalists at the headquarters, I had to find a way to run to the media officer's office to go and get numbers, to try and call the CEO, to try and get answers. So for me, it was the first time to really cover elections, and it was hectic, it was busy, so you had to stand close to people like officials that work at the headquarters to try and get information from them, or try and say, but guys, this is happening, where can I get an answer? This is happening, where can I go? So it was interesting to see. Around 2 o'clock, we were told, okay, we'll have a press conference, and then again, they'll extend it with 30 minutes, and if you go upstairs, you're looking for somebody to say, okay, are you going to tell us if something is going to happen? And then just hear, no, they are in a meeting. And the meetings took long, and the meetings, they will say on the second floor, if you go there, they are not there. So it was interesting, it was busy, there were a lot of people in the building. It was exciting for me to see.
Just maybe to Nohole, you were in Katutura, and so there was this anticipation that young people would be discouraged by long queues. They would say, oh, my nails, oh, my hair, I cannot stand in the sun and in the rain, stuff like that. Is that the kind of, what was your observation? Did people actually, young people in particular, stay on and say, look, I have to cast my vote, or were they going away as soon as they see the queues?
In particular to the polling stations in Katutura, they were dominated by young people, but I would say that it was mostly in groups. you wouldn't really find a young person queuing up alone. He or she would always have a friend and another friend. So I loved how they came out in numbers, but collectively. So you as a young person, even though you were not really encouraged to vote, the fact that you have someone who is availing themselves that, okay, let's do it together, I think that is what encouraged them. So I wouldn't say that they were discouraged by the long queues, because as a group, if one person is discouraged, it's always easy to motivate the other. You know what, guys? We are already in the queue, so we might as well continue and cast our vote. So it wasn't young people who were exactly. It was mostly just them in a group and supporting each other and motivating each other to also just cast their vote.
Tuna, Octavia, a final question from me. If there's one moment each of you would list as inspiring, of everything you experienced yesterday, very shortly, what inspired you?
I'm actually happy that you asked me that question, because I was going to share. I think the most inspiring thing that stood out for me at the different polling stations was that I saw a tweet, I think a week before elections, that, guys, can you please find out from the Electoral Commission if we are allowed to sell items at the different polling stations? And people laughed it off, and I also laughed as well. I'm like, are people really serious? But there were a number of vendors at different polling stations who were selling fed cakes, who were selling cool drinks, who were selling energy drinks, and I was like, people were really capitalizing on the opportunity to make extra cash, and it was young people who were selling these items. So that was very interesting and also amazing to see that people were actually making use of these different opportunities to make money.
And Octavia, yes, from your side.
Just to add on to Nohole's comment, we were at ECN at 6 and it was locked. So we decided to go to a polling station at Van Rijn, which is behind ECN. And then already early in the morning, we could see people putting up their stands. And right after we took a few videos and we came out, around 10, we saw young people with their cooler box. And I'm like, sister, you're not queuing up. I said, no, I already voted. I'm done. Now it's business time. So it was really interesting to see that young people did come out in numbers to sell something, ice, what is the power rate. It was interesting to see. Besides that, the first polling station that I went to was Van Rijn, and then I saw a very old meme sitting in the queue wanting to vote. It inspired me that even though she's past the expected age of living, she was in the queue to vote. I mean, so it was interesting to see that old people, regardless of their circumstances, came out to vote, and it encouraged the young people. And they were actually standing up for these old people to sit. So that encouraged me personally. Yeah.
Thank you, guys. Two of our young journalists, Tuno and Octavia. And thank you very much for your work yesterday. And they are not only the future of our democracy, they are the future of our work. Yeah, we are journalists, but in every profession. So thank you very much. Yes, and we are then going to show you a couple of more clips. This was taken in Swakopmund by Otis Fink, and he spoke to a polling station officer after a very long day of voting and work.
Unzi Zuba, how are you doing? Are you doing fine? Tell me, you had a very, very long...
I had a very, very busy day. I'm tired.
When did you start off?
I started at 7 o'clock. And so far I've casted 1,024 votes.
Votes, sure.
At
And
my
now
station.
you're done.
Now I'm done.
Your stuff have been submitted, you're
Yes.
satisfied.
We are satisfied. There is Mr. Lantu there.
Yeah.
He's satisfied with my stats.
And then where to from here?
We are just waiting for tabulation and then go to the police station to go book in our stuff and then go home.
Okay. Thank you so much. Wonderful.
Okay, Mr. Amos.
It's quite interesting there, and yeah, it seems like a well-deserved rest there for that official. Just coming back to our two young colleagues, so I mean, some people were complaining about the impact on the gross domestic product in terms of and productivity on an election day, public holiday in the middle of the week. But that picture shows also that for the informal economy, election day is good.
As a matter of fact, probably they would wish every day was election day because that sector, when you're able to take business to the people as opposed to having a static supermarket somewhere. So you go where the people are and you make money. So it's good to see that that spirit actually was alive yesterday.
Stay tuned. You're watching Namibia Media Holdings live broadcast Elections 2019. We'll be back after a break.
We lose ourselves in the spirit of things. We lose our sight when we put our trust in things of this material world, of things that fade away. Yet we keep coming back, 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 keep coming back. We lose ourselves in the spirit of things. We lose our sight when we put our trust in things of this material world, of things that fade away. Yet we keep coming back, 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 keep coming back. Coming back, keep coming back.
Welcome back, and we hope you are going to stay tuned in for some interesting comments and conversations. Our journalist who covered Mariental and Rehoboth yesterday is Denver Kisting, and we have got him live on Skype, I believe. We're going to try to come back to that one a bit later. So Toivo, yes, the election website, elections.my.na, updated, and the maps now for 2019, the results also available. So Toivo is going to explain to you how that works.
Yeah, again, if you go to our website, which is elections.my.na, you have a buffet of options there of results, presidential, regional, everything. But now here we have a national map in front of us, or on our screen rather, and it shows, for example, that if you click on Karas, it will give you what has been tabulated so far in that region. You would see clearly that in that case, SWAPO, as a matter of fact, LPM is leading in Karas, probably for obvious reasons. It's a stronghold of the party. If you go to Hardap, again, you would see the outcome there. SWAPO leading in that regard. Other regions do not have their results yet. It's 0-0s there, but as they come in, we will be bringing them live to you.
Yes, thank you, Toivo. So please go and visit the site also to keep abreast of the latest. Like I said, our journalist in the Hardap region was Denver Kisting. He's on the line live on Skype from Rehoboth. Denver, good day.
Good morning, Donnie, and good morning, Toivo. What's the live landing?
Yes, Denver, just give us a summary of your experience since this morning, and then maybe some of the highlights of your visit to Mariental and Rehoboth.
Yes, Donnie, perhaps we can just take a step back with the visit to Mariental. What is very clear about Namibians is that most of the processes would be the behavior of our people. I did speak to a couple of retiring states on it. To talk to people locked up at the hole. They were asked to excuse themselves. And in fact, I also spoke to myself. I could observe that these people could have been under the influence of liquor. But in the process, and Namibians behave. Last night, I tried on a community hall in Block E in Rehoboth. An agent explained to the presiding officer for campaigning with the inside the polling station. That picture was addressed, and the people were asked to please further away or to stop campaigning. Now, this has been an interesting time historically. What we see thus far with the collective three constitutions being Rehoboth West and East. So, I can think of this man. As far as Rehoboth West is concerned, Henry Bernard seems to be the man. So, the PDA, the UPA coalition, seems to have done some fruit. But I can think of its second, and then the Eastern presidential candidate in third. As far as the national results for that constituency, it's also the PDM UPA coalition in the lead. So upon the second place, and the interesting enough, this you keep on the top, LPM is in third place. You also see that Bernardus Swakboy, the national candidate for the LPM, did relatively well. He got 358 votes in the Rehoboth West constituency versus the 580 of the independent presidential candidate, Dr. Delaney. Related to the Rehoboth East constituency, they got the highest number of votes, 2,520. The presidential candidate for UPM and Benani got 735 versus 74 the independent presidential candidate. The close fight in those. But also LPM's Bernardus with 534 votes compared to the votes received by the presidential candidate as well as the PDM president. It looks like the PDM UPM division did very well as far as the national election in that constituency. And in fact, opposite the third place was LPM in the second place.
Thank you very much, Denver, and a good day to you. That was Denver Kisting reporting from Rehoboth. It's interesting, and like he now said, the coalition, Toivo, between the Popular Democratic Movement and the United People's Movement, UPM, showing some dividends in certain constituencies in Rehoboth?
It was expected. I think it was a smart move between those two formations to put hands together. I mean, UPM is very, very strong, particularly around the Rehoboth area. And it was clever of PDM to climb on their back there to put forces together. So, yeah.
Yes, we've got Frank Stephan, editor of Allgemeine Zeitung, in the studio. Welcome, Frank.
Good morning. Nice to be back. Yes, we've accumulated a couple of clips again. So the first one that we would like to show you is of the Collation Centre up in Otjiwarongo. Jana Marie sent us an update. They're busy collating those results for that area. It's actually 3 clips which she's showing there. So it shows they're still quite busy getting the numbers together. I don't think there's real commentary on that one. It was just to give you an impression of the activities, each one waiting for his turn to pass on the numbers. This is obviously something that's going on all the time. This is just another impression. I think technically they're all the same. We had another contribution from Otis Fink, who actually shows us Brian Kukuri, who's the Erongo Regional IT specialist, who thanked his people and ended the tabulation process.
But here, we are done. I thank you for your cooperation, for your patience. Since yesterday, I think we've become a family. Thank you very much.
These guys actually did a huge job. If I say these guys, not only the personnel of the ECN, but Otis Fink, for example, was still busy sending us messages last night at 2 o'clock and later. So, I mean, this is really on the hour news, really. And then the last thing we had was from Kenya Kambove up in Kavango, who sent us a quick image of the collation center in Kavango East. So obviously most of the activity is now finished. It's not like yesterday where you could report about huge numbers of people and opinions all the time. But it gives you an indication that it's quite down, but it's still busy. They're now busy counting the numbers or accumulating the numbers. Speaking of that, we would like to just explain the process a bit. It was explained to me in this way. The EVMs have now obviously got all the results for a polling station. And that polling station has obviously printed its results and then also confirmed them in writing. And then they posted outside the polling station. From there, the next move is to have a collation. And there are just a number of collation machines. And this is probably likely to create a problem for some of these areas, for the simple reason that these collation machines technically now add up or copy over the results from the various polling stations. So for each constituency, you will now have an accumulated result. But that result is then obviously printed out again. And from there, that machine is cleared each time when it reaches the next constituency where the next EVMs are uploaded. Now, each time that collation machine is used again in the next constituency, they actually call together all the representatives and election observers, And from there, they decide, okay, now the machine is being cleared, we're all safe. Now we upload the next EVMs. Now for Irango, for example, they only have one of those machines. So you can imagine if we have that problem all over Namibia, then I think the ECN is a bit optimistic if they think the results will be available in Windhoek finally that fast. Because those results, as they have been announced from that collation machine, are then brought to Windhoek where they are beginning to collate them once again per constituency. So I think this might still be a longer process than we thought, because Namibia is not exactly the smallest country.
Thank you very much, Frank. Yes, Toivo, important that people understand the processes as well. We yesterday on polling voting day also saw that let's leave some of the ECN officials who work there who were also not well informed, but members of the public also not well informed. So this is definitely something that must be worked on a lot harder.
So the ECN yesterday at their press conference with Tio Mioro actually admitting that some of their officials were not up to speed, especially in preparing for the morning, just to get the system up and running in the morning yesterday. It's a damning admission, but if it doesn't affect the results, then I think it's just something that they must work on.
Thank you, Toivo. Please stay tuned. We'll bring you a lot more for the rest of this first day after elections. It's Thursday, 28 November 2019.
We lose ourselves in the spirit of things. We lose our sight when we put our trust in things of this material world, of things that fade away. Yet you keep coming back, 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 keep coming back. Keep coming back, keep coming back.